So, like when we talk about Flutter development and all, we all know that when it comes to choose the right architecture for our mobile app, it's always a challenge as there are so many options out there. So today we have Purvik Bhai with us, who works as a software engineer at the Sunflower Lab Vadodara. He's also been one of the most active members of the Flutter Vadodara community since the beginning, and he'll be joining us as a speaker for the day, helping us learn and explore how to efficiently do the state management using the block architecture in Flutter. So yeah, that's all. Over to you, Purvik Bhai. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pranit, for this good speech about me. And thank you, Flutter Vadodara, for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge to the community and organizing this meetup for the community members. So instead of taking much time, let's start with the presentation. So today we will be seeing the block. That is what the one of the state management technique in the Flutter. So we will be seeing the core concepts of the block. That what are the core concepts are there in mainly the block and the library that we can use in our Flutter application for the state management. And we will see a basic demo regarding two applications, two demos are there, which I have already created. So it will be not a hands-on demo. I will just go through the code and I will show you that what are the things that you can uh, create or you can code to integrate or to handle a block architecture in your Flutter application. So we will see the basic demo for that. So let's start with that. So talking about me, that I wrote my first line of code 8 years ago. I have 6+ years of experience with the software development, especially for the mobile application development. I am the member of a team who won the Flutter Vadodara Hackathon when the Flutter organized the boot camp for the Flutter for the first time in Vadodara. Then I have been working as a freelance mobile application developer also. Started with the Android and now it's all widgets. So as you know that now I am working for the Flutter. I have published my own Android applications, which is holding a small user base because those are not so many great applications. I have also worked as an assistant professor, and so many students are there which are at a good career space right now and which are already there here. So that is what about that. And currently exploring the ocean of the Flutter universe to sharpen my skills and for the career growth also. Because as we know, the technology changes very rapidly, so we can have these things. We have to grasp the so many things for our knowledge. So that's about me. Talking about the today's agenda. So we will be looking for the state management approaches. I will just give you the names that what are the state management approaches are there for a Flutter application. Then we will be moving to the block. So we will see what the block is and why we can use that. Then we will see the advantages of the block. Then we will see the block architecture. We will go through the core concept of the block, and then we will go through the core concept of the Flutter block. That is what the package that we use in our Flutter application. And then we will see that how understand that how this block work practically. So we will see the two demo, one for the counter application and one for the API calling demo. So let's start with the first, the state management approaches for a Flutter app. So as we know, there are lots of state management approaches are there, which are already there in the Flutter package also in the SDK. And there are other which are provided by the community, and through the packages, we can use them. So talking about the basic thing, that is what the set state is there, which we have in the stateful widgets. A method is there which is used to update the state of the particular screen. Then we are having the inherited widget and the inherited model that we can use also for the state management. Then provider and scoped model is there, which is also suggested by the Flutter community to use in our applications, but it's the basic one. The provider is the main thing that is work under hood inside the block. So those are the one technique for that. Then Redux is there, and the Mobex and Block is there. So these are the three community-driven packages are there, which you can say we can use or integrate in our Flutter application to handle the state management in our Flutter application. So these are what the different approaches are there for maintaining the state in our application. But today we will talk about the basics of the block. So let's start with this. So first we will see what is the block and why it is there. So it stands for the business logic component. It's one of the state management strategy or technique, you can say, and it is available for the Dart, Flutter, and the Angular Dart. So these are the different technologies in which the block is available. We will see more concepts later. These are because these are that in the core concept. It is just for the introduction that what the block is and why we are why we are using the block in our application. So that's what the block is. Why it is? It is easy to separate the presentation from the business logic. So if you see that handling the presentation, the UI of our application on the same, and creating the business logic in the same file, it will be a very lengthy code will be there, and to understand the code it will be really very complex. So to easily separate the presentation, that is the what user is going to see, and the business logic, what processing our application is doing in the under hood, so that we can easily separate if you are using the block pattern. Then it also makes your code very fast, easy to test, and very reusable if you want to use at the multiple locations in your application on the multiple screen. So at that time you can easily use your code very easily. So that's what the block is, and why we can use why we should use the block. So that is what about that. Talking about the advantages of the block, at any point if you want to know that what state your application is. So if you see that whenever user is starting your starting our application, then it should have some state means it should have some data to represent to the user. And whenever user is performing some kind of operations, talking about let it is clicking on some buttons, it is redirecting to some other screens, it is fetching data from the backend server, fetching data from some API. So that is what the datas are going to represent to the UI. And when the data is getting represented to the UI, at that time you can say my application is at some state. One of point, it is at some state. So at any point, if we will know that what state our application is in, so that way the block is very beneficial for that. It access every single user interaction to make a perfect data driven application. So each and every interaction you can uh, optimize by using the block to uh, drive your data through the application or drive the user to another routes or the another functionalities of your application. Third advantage, it is simple, it is easy to understand, and for all developers with the varying skills, it can be easily understood. So first, when I have seen the block, then for me it is very complex to understand. But when I go through the readings of the package details and then creating the demo with that, so at the end I'm getting I have got easily understanding things about the blocks, that this is what the architecture that we should follow when we are integrating the block, and this is how we can easily create the different screens by using the block. So that's what it is. When you understand it properly, then it is very easy to understand. Then it's a powerful that it makes the development of the complex application literally very easy, because right now I am also following that concept uh, in my organization. We are following this block library for managing the state of our client applications, and it compose them in a smaller components. So let's say you have the more components in your UI, then you can also integrate your block to the different components. You want to integrate to the smaller component of your screen, then you can also integrate that to that small components. So that's what it is very powerful for the complex applications also. It is testable, that it is easily test all aspects of the application, that will boost the developer confidence. So at the end of the development, the testing phase will become. So they also provide a very good way to test your applications. If you are following the block architecture, then you can easily create the different test to understand that to understand that how your work is going through. So that will, if it is correct way, and if you have followed the correct way, then it will give you the good results, and that will boost the developers confidence regarding that. So these are what the different advantages about the block. Then moving next, we will see the block architecture. So understand these things that block is mainly to separate the business logic from the UI. So here you can see the UI is the part which we are representing to the user. So that UI will be there. Then we have the different block. So just assume that we have the concept of the block. So there is a one kind of a block is there, one class is there which is handling the UI over here. And data, you can assume that it is the repository that we have, whatever the backend API that we have, you can assume that we are getting the data from that API. So you can say, let's say in the UI we have some buttons. On the button click, we are fetching some data from the API, and we are displaying the list of some data to the user. So on the UI, when the user is clicking that button, at that time some events will be get generated, and that events will be get passed to the block. That block will sense the type of the event, that what kind of event is there. So we can have the different types of event that we will see when we will see the demo, that we can define the different events also. So we will block will sense that what kind of event is there, and based on the type of the event, it will fetch the data from the API endpoint. So that block will handle the business logic. The UI has only work on the on tap part. That button is get pressed, and that event is now passed to the block. Now block has to handle all the business logic, that this button is pressed, so what data that you have to fetch from the API, and how you have to work on that. Do you have to perform some kind of operations on that data? So that all the things will be happen inside the block. The UI part does not have to do anything regarding the business logic. So UI has forwarded the events to the block. Now block will give the some request to the backend server, and it will get responded with the some kind of a data. Now what block is does, it will take the events, it will take the data from the API, and now by processing that data, it has to represent some of the UI, or it has to change the UI that the user is having already on that screen. So from that, the uh, block will emit the different states. You can say block will emit a particular state which will contain the list of the data from this particular block to the UI. Now, when the list of data is passing from block to the UI will check, now I have got the list of the data, so I will represent those data to the particular user. So that's how the whole block architecture works. On the UI, you will have the different events. Let's say I have talked about the one single event, that is what the button click is there. We can also have the different events for the pagination also. If you have work on that, then you can easily sense the pagination also. So on pagination events are there, button click events are there, user redirection events are there. Let's say on the button click, you want to redirect user to some other screen, so that you can also handle through the block. I know that we can easily use directly the navigator dot push methods for that, to redirect the user to some other screens. But for that, you can also use the block, because that will be the effective way, because all the processing will be happen inside the block. Business logic will be there in the block. There is no need to provide the business logic in the UI. So this is what the basic thing about the block architecture. On the UI, whatever the events are happening, the whatever the user is interacting with the screen, all those things will be in the terms of the event. Button press event is there, routing events are there, so those all the things will be as the events, and those events will be passed to the block. Block will do the business processing, and it will emit the different state based on the events. What kind of a event is there, on the basis of that it will have the different processing. And what kind of a state after business logic, what kind of a state that it has to display on the UI, that state will be redirected to the UI screen. So you can say you are fetching different state in the sense of you are fetching some list of data. On success scenario, you are having the list, so you will pass on the different state that I have the list of the things, and you can represent that to the user. But what if the API will fail in between? So API can also give you the errors for that. So you can have the different state. Let's say error state is there. So you can, on the basis of that state, you can change the UI. Instead of giving only the list of screen, you can also give you the proper message when the error is there from the backend API. So that way the block architecture works. The UI will emit the events, and block will do the business processing, and block will give you the different state that will change the represent or the UI part that we have on the screen that we are representing to the user. So that's what about the block architecture to understand it in a simple way. Now we will move to the core concepts. So these are the core concept about the block. It is the core concept of the block, but not the core concept of the Flutter block that we actually use for the Flutter application. But to understand that what are the things are there, we have to understand the core concept of the block. So as we have already talked about the architecture, so now it is easy to understand that this core concept. So events are one of that. So events are the input to the block, and it added in the response of the UI interaction like the button press or the page loads. So as we have seen earlier, events are nothing. Those are from the UI to the block. You can say from the UI, we are having the events and we are passing it to the block. So events are input to the block, and block will do the processing based on the events. Next core concept, that is what the states. States are the output of a block. It represent the part of our application's state, that in what state our application is, that will be represented by this state. And UI will get notified and retro portion of themselves that uh, whenever the different states are emits from block to the UI on the basis of state, the UI will change the representation of the screen, that what thing that it is representing to the user. So based on that, it will give you the UI, and whatever state that block has emitted on the UI. Let's say you have we have already talked that we have the list of the data. So that list of the data is represented to the user. So now you can say our application state is there where we are representing the list of the data to the user. So our application is in that particular state. So it also represent the part of our application state. So on which state our application is, that will be represented by the states. So these are the two things, events and state, and that are the main thing that we are going to work when we are going to code when we are working with the block architecture. Now transitions are there, which are the changes from the one state to another. So and it consists of the current state, the type of the event, and the next state. This is the node that a transition will have. A single transition will contain of the three things, that is what the current state, event, and the next state. So let's say on the initial state, when you are representing the UI, when the user is opening that application, on the button click, we are only getting some list of the data. So initially you are representing nothing to the user. So that will be the initial state. One state will be there, that is the initial state. Now user has clicked the button. Let's say get data event is there for an example. So user has clicked on one particular button, the get data event is get called, it is passed to the block. Block has got the list of the data, and it is now again pushing the new state on the UI. Let's say uh, data list get success is there, so that state will be passed on to the UI. So this whole passing the event to the block, passing processing the data, and after that passing the new state to the UI, this is whole thing is called as a one transition. So transition contain of the current state, that what the initial state is there, current state, then the event is there, and the next state is there. So that contains that completes the one transition. Now when you have the list of the data, and let's think about that, it's a paginated call. So when the user is scrolling down and down, and for that you again call the new event, that get more data event is there. So when user scrolls to the end of the list and user scrolls again, then you have to fetch more data from the API. So you will call the another event, get more data. It will go to the block. Block will get the more data, and block will pass on the new state. So this whole thing will be a transition. That current state is the previous state where we have the data. Actually, the new event is passed, and the next state will be the updated state with the uh, complete list of data after the paginated call. So that will complete a one transition. A transition is change from one state to another, and it consists of the current state, event, and next state. So transition is not a concept that we have to actually implement, but it is only used for the logging concept. So when you have to uh, plot the logs of your application when the user is clicking on one particular button, said what the transaction is happening inside your application, that thing you can easily log in the console by going through some methods that we will see, that a transaction is occur, and that transaction, that log will contain three things: current state, event, and the next state. So you can easily identify that uh, in which state our application was, what is the event that fired, and in which state our application is right now. So that's what the transitions are there. Next thing, talking about the stream. So this concept is a core concept of the block, but you can easily understand that why we are taking this as a consideration over here. The stream is nothing; it is the sequence of asynchronous data, because the whatever the business processing the block is performing, it has to give the output in terms of the state. So just assume that we have this example over here. So stream is nothing, you can simply understand by example, that is what a pipe of water flowing through it. So pipe will be a stream, and the water will be the synchronous data. So that way you can consider, you can assume the stream is there. The stream, for the, let's understand this example. So stream of integer is there. This is the function name. The max parameter is one of the till which we have to uh, give the data from this particular function. Then you can say we have the for loop over here, and the one state is yield from this thing. So let's understand what is the async star and yield. So async star is one particular keyword by which if this function, if we are assigning this to this particular function, then we can yield the different parameters from this particular function. And you can say this function has the return type of the stream of integer. So it can yield the different integers from this particular function. So if you have not used the async, if you are not mentioning the async star over here, you cannot yield the different state from this particular string. So async star is used to yield the different states from over here, and yield is the keyword that is used to emit the different type of the data that this stream is uh, uh, giving back to the calling method. So this function is there which uses the async star keyword, and which is yielding the different state, and it is output, it has the output as the stream of integer. So you can say the different integers are there which are yielding from this particular function. So if anyone is calling this particular function, so you can say from, let's say, I'm passing 10 as the maximum parameter over here. So for 0 to 10, it will yield the different values of the I. So it will give the 0 to 9 values over here for the different as a particular stream of the integer from this particular function. So that's how the stream is working. And in the block, to understand how the block is working, you have to understand these things. So that's what the about the stream. So it emits the sequence of async data, that is what the pipe of water flowing through it, one example is this. So you can have the different data that is yielding from your function by using these two keywords, that is what the async star and yield is there. So this is what the concept of the stream. Next, block is there. So as we have already seen in the architecture, so this is very easy to understand now. It's a component that converts the stream of incoming events into the stream of outgoing states. So stream is now clear about these things, that you will have the different events coming to the block, and you will have the different states that are outgoing from the block after doing the business processing. So that's what the block is there. And for the programming, every block must extend the base block. That is what the block is there, which is the part of the core block package. It must define an initial state, a state before any event have been received yet. So let's say you have a one screen, and you have to associate one block with that particular screen. So before doing any processing, you have to pass an initial state. So initial data will be represented to the user. So that state you have to pass, and that is the must define thing, that when we are creating any block for any screen. So that is what about the initial state, which will be represented before any event has been happened yet. It must implement the function that is what called map event to state, and this is what the main function, which will uh, give you the which will process the different business logic, and which will emits the different state based on the type of the event that we have. So let's say one screen, for an example, one screen have the multiple event. So that event will be get identified inside this particular method. So that method is the must implemented one inside the block when you are creating it. So it accepts the incoming event as an argument, and it must return the stream of new states. So stream of new states will be there. So you can have the different states that you can emit from this particular function. And it ignores the duplicate states, makes no return from the flow. So let's say you have one particular state in which your application is right now, and you again wants to emit that particular state. You are again outputting that same state from this particular method, then it will make no changes to the UI. So that we will that I can easily I can easily explain that when we are practically checking the demo. So at that time you can easily understand this thing. And these are what about the block, but how you can add the different events to the block. So to how to notify a block about an event, to that you can use the add method on the instance of the block, which takes an event as a parameter, which trigger the map event to state method. And it can be called from the UI, or it can be called from the block itself. So from the UI screen you can also add the different events inside the by using the instance of the block, and you can also use the same block implementation to add the different events for that. So this is what about the block, that to understand it in a simple way, it takes the different event and it's give the different states, and it will do the processing itself based on the events. So that's what the block is there. Now, talking about the block delegate, so it mainly used to use for the logging concepts. So to access all transaction at a one place, that whatever what are the transactions are happening inside your application, that you can easily log using the block delegate. So this is the concept that you can easily integrate inside the main method. So you can have the simple block delegate. You have to create a one class, that is what the simple block delegate class is there, which extends the base class, that is what the block delegate, and which overrides the on transaction method, which consists of the block and the consist of the transition. So you can easily print the transactions from over here. So that will give you the log, that a log about the current state, the event that has happened, and the next state that this particular block will have now regarding the event. So that thing you can easily you can easily override and print the transaction over here. And to use this simple block delegate inside the void main, you can have this particular thing, that is what the block supervisor dot delegate equals to simple block delegate. So if you have mentioned this simple block delegate over here, and when inside your app, it is defined in the main method. So inside your application, forget about that how many number of blocks are there, how many number of screens are there, but whatever transitions are happening, that transitions will be get logged using this particular simple delegate. So this block delegate is used for the logging inside your for your applications about the different transitions. And you can also do some processing regarding some transaction. If you can easily have the different states and different uh, events from over here. So if you want to perform some actions, then you can also perform that actions from this particular method. But remember that all the transactions will be go through this particular delegate. So each and everything will be processed over here if you have that kind of a thing. So that's what about the block delegate. And some other methods are there. This is just a single one. That is what the on transitions are there. But you can also override the on error method there, which is for uh, plotting the errors. If you have the some kind of a error, then you can also override the on error method to print what kind of errors are there. So it consists of the three things. I forgot to put it over here, but it consists of the three things: block, then the error is there, and the stack trace is there. So you can also print those things in the log easily to check what kind of errors are happening. So that is what about the block delegate. So these are the core concept of the block itself, that what the block consists of, the different event, different states, transitions are there, streams are there, blocks are there, and the block delegate. Now we will move to the Flutter block. That is what the package that we use to implement the block architecture and to get access to the different widgets, or you can say the core concept of the block library that are implemented for our Flutter application. So Flutter block is the package that we used to implement the block architecture, and these are what the different core concepts, you can say, different widgets that we are using in our Flutter application to implement the block architecture. So block provider, it's a kind of I will just give you the simple terms for that right now. So block provider is there which provide the block to the our widgets. So it's kind of a provider thing that we have already discussed at the earlier state, or some of you might know about that. So provider is the thing which provide the block to the widget tree. Multi provider is there which provides the multiple blocks at the same time. Block builder used to change the UI representation. It mainly take the states on the basis of the different state. You can have the different representation to the user, that it will change the redraw the UI based on the different state. Block listener, it is the same as the block builder, but it will not redraw the UI, but it is only to display some kind of a snake bar, some kind of a dialog that you want to display. Then you want to redirect user to some other place, and you want to update some data in your screen. Update some data, that is what you have to perform only set state on that data. So that way you can use the block listener. But if you want to redraw the whole UI, instead of the list view, now you are getting the error when you are getting the data from the API. So that UI you can change using the block builder. Block consumer is the concept which is the combination of the block builder and listener. Instead of using the block builder and listener to separate widgets, you can directly use the block consumer widget. Then the repository provider is there, and multi-repository provider is there. So repository provider is nothing. You can create the different repository class which will consist of the different API calling stuffs. So same way, if you are same way the way we are providing the different block to our screen, we can provide the different repository to our screen. So that will handle the API callings and all the stuffs. So for now, we are only going to talk about these four things: block provider, multi-block provider, block builder, and block listener. You can check the documentation for the block consumer, repository provider, and multi-repository provider. So these are the core concepts that you have to understand about you have to understand if you want to know about the Flutter block. So let's go through them one by one. So one first is a block provider. So it is the widget that provides a block to its children via this particular syntax. So the type of the block that we have, the type of the block we have to define over here, and this is what the syntax that by which we can provide the block to the widget tree. And it is mostly used to create the new block which will be made available to the rest of the subtree. So let's say we have one particular child a screen is there, child a widget is there, and we want to provide the block a to this particular screen. So we can wrap this child a widget to using the block provider, and it consists of this particular property that we have to uh, use to create the block. So create, it will take the context and it will give you the block instance. So this so by using this particular syntax, you now you can say you have associated, you have passed this particular block a, instance of the block a, to the this particular screen. So inside the child a, whatever thing is there, we have the different screen, we have the different widgets, all those can access this particular block by using the these two things. Either you can use the context dot block and the type of the block that it want to access, you can use this thing also. And you can also use the block provider of context, and you have to specify the type of the block that you want to access from the parent subtree. So from the parent, so that way you can access the block. And this is what creation part. So if you are if you have no local instance of your particular block, let's say we have the class of the block and we are creating the instance of that block, so we can directly pass the instance of that block to this particular subtree also. But here we are creating the new instance, so block provider create, and the new block instance will be get called, so you can pass on the new object to over here. And if the block is passed using this syntax, so you does not have to worry about the dispose thing, it will already take care by the block provider because it is creating, so it will take care of the disposing this particular block when the user is moving back from this particular screen. And sometimes it is also used to provide the existing block value to the new portion of the subtree. So you can also let's say you have the child a, and inside the child a, somewhere in the widget you have the screen a, and inside the screen a you want to pass the instance of this particular block a, which we have passed from over here. So this block provider this block is provided using this particular thing from over here to the child a. Child a consists of screen a at some portion in that widget tree. So you can easily pass this particular block instance to screen a by using this particular syntax. So instead of creating the new instance of the block a, you can directly provide the value of this particular block using this syntax, that is what the block provider dot value, and you have to pass the value of this particular block, and that value we can access using this syntax, that is what the block provider dot of context and the type of the block that we have passed before from this particular screen. So that way you can also pass the value of the local block, or you can say the value of already provided block from the parent to the child of this particular screen. So that way you can pass the local block to the subs to the part of the screen. So that's what about the block provider. Multi-block provider is there. So in somewhere maybe you have this kind of a scenario that you have the block, you have to provide the block a instance to your children, you have to also provide the instance of the block b, you have to also provide the instance of the block c to your child a widget. So instead of using this nested structure, you can directly use the multi-block provider widget, which consists of the one thing, that is what the providers, and inside the providers it will consist of the array of the block provider. So same syntax is there, block provider, the type of the block that you want to pass, and you have to pass this particular syntax that we are using to create the block of uh, uh, that object, that class, sorry. So that way you can easily pass on the different blocks to the children. Instead of using the nested structure, you can use this multi-block provider structure, which merge the multiple block provider widgets into the one. So this is what the multi-block provider. There is no big thing is there, just a simple syntax structure is there, syntax different is there for using the multi-block provider. Now talking about the block builder, so this is what the main thing which is handling the UI changes whenever the new states are there. So block builder consists of the two things, that is what the type of the block it is having. So it will have the block itself over here, and the state that a particular screen will be have. So a single block instance will be there, the state will be there, and it will having a builder class which consists of the context and the state. So this block builder, on the basis of the state, it will return the widgets from that. So let's say initial state is nothing, so whatever the things that you want to return, you can check the state by using the if else condition. Also you can put the switch case also from over here, but that will be not the concept. We are using only the if else till now. So you can easily use the if else conditions to check in which state your application your block is right now, and on the basis of that it will return the different widgets. And block builder, it will automatically look up using the block provider. So if you are directly using this syntax, then it will check in the parents that whether this type of a block, uh, for an example block A, is provided by using the block provider or not. And if you are not providing that kind of a block from by using the block provider, then it will throw you the exception over here that from the parent I am not getting I am not getting any block A that is provided using the block provider, that block provider. So that exception you will get over here. And second syntax, you can also have associate the local block instance. So whatever block that you have provided using the block provider, you can easily create the instance of that block using this syntax, and you can easily associate, you can pass that value to this particular block. Let's say we are uh, creating the instance of this, and we can directly pass this value, we can assign this value to this particular block. So that will provide the local block instance to this particular block. And it is specify block if it is scope to the single widget. So for a single widget you can associate this particular block in that way. So these are the two way by which you can sense the different state changes inside the block, and based on the state changes you have to return the different UI components to the user. So on the basis of the block A's state, you can have the different representation on the screen. Now talking about to provide the more fine grained control over your UI changes, you can also put the different conditions, and that condition will take the two things, that is what the previous state and the state, that is what the current state. So based on the different things, you can also compare the two, compare several things from the previous state or the current state, and based on that, if you are providing that kind of a condition over here, and if that condition is matching your requirement, then and then only this block builder will rebuild the UI state. If you are providing this condition, if you have that kind of a scenario based on the condition you want to redraw the UI, only that, only then you can rebuild the different components. So you can also put the condition inside the block builder to have the more control on the UI changes. So that's what about the block builder. It requires a block and builder function. It requires a block and the builder function, and it handles the building the new widgets in response to the new states. So based on the states, it will return back the different widgets from this from the builder function. So that's what the block builder. It's mainly for the UI changes. So it will change the UI, whatever the we are representing to the user based on the different state. Now talking about the block listener, that it has the same thing about it has the same syntax, same as the block builder, but instead of having a builder method over here, it is having the listener method because it is listening for the different state changes. Same as the builder, it is listening for the different state changes. So it invokes the listener function, and same thing, it has a context and a state. So based on the state, you can do the different stuff here. For an example, you want to display the snake bar, that you failed to get the data from the API, or you fail to post your data to the, you are submitting some form and you fail to post the data to the backend. So at that time you can display the different snake bar, you can display the dialogue over here. So on that way you can use the block listener for your screen. So block listener will be there on the parent of the block builder that we will see when we are having the one particular demo. So that way the listener is very helpful to display the different snake bar, to display the different dialogue, or to navigate to the different screen based on the different events. So for an example, you are submitting some form and you have successfully submitted that particular form to the backend, so new state will be there, form submission success, and on the basis of that you can redirect user to the back screen, or you can redirect user to the some other screen. So that will be handled inside the listener. You does not have to change the UI using the block builder, but you can easily redirect user to the different screen by using the block listener. So it will listen for the different state changes, and it will represent the different snake bar dialog or user redirection for the application. So this is what the same syntax block, same as the block builder. You can also pass the instance, local instance of your block, and you can also put some conditions to have the more control on displaying the snake bar or the dialogues to the user. So these are the three things that you can have to declare a one particular block listener widget. Sorry. Talking about the multi-block listener, it is same as the multi-block provider, that instead of having the nested structure of the block listener for the different blocks, we can combine those all the blocks in a one single widget. That is what the multi-block listener, which contains a parameter, that is what the listeners, and which consist of the different array of block listeners. So you can have this structure instead of having the nested structure for providing the different listener to this widget. You can use this syntax, but you can use this widget, that is what the multi-block listener, to provide the different listeners to this particular widget. So it merges the multiple block listener widget into the one. So this is just regarding the different syntax to follow when you have the multiple block listener to provide to the single child. Mm, Next thing, that is what the block consumer. It exposes the builder and the listener in a response to the state changes. So let's say you also have to have the listener you also have to have the block listener widget for the different state, and for the same state you also have to use the block builder. So on for the same state, you also want to display something on the UI. Let's say you want to display some snake bar, and for the same state you have to also change the UI. So at that time, instead of going through the block listener, and on the child of the block listener you will have the block builder, instead of using that syntax you can directly use the block consumer syntax, which will consist of the two things, that is what the listener from the block listener and builder from the block builder. So this is what the block consumer, instead of having the nested structure of the block listener and block builder, you can directly use the block consumer. But this thing only be used when you have to have something from the listener also and something from the builder also for the same state. If we have the different state, let's say for the failure state I want to display the snake bar, but for the failure state I do not have to change the UI. At that time this is not gonna you have to use. For the state, let's say you for the failure thing you want to display some sigma, and for the failure state you also want to rebuild the UI. So on that time you can use the consumer, because for the same state, failure state, you are some performing something on the listener also, and you are performing something in the builder also. So if you have this kind of a stuff, then and then only you can use the block consumer for that kind of implementation. So that's what about the different core concepts of the Flutter block. I'm not talking about the repository provider and multi-repository provider right now, because that is the different thing that you can provide to your screen by for only where you can perform the different API operations, so that you can easily learn through the documentation. And if you understand the block provider easily, block provider wants that to provide the different blocks to the screen and different blocks to the UI components, so you can easily understood that thing, that how the repository provider and multi-repository providers are working. So that thing will be very easy to understand from that. So let's check that how practically the blocks are working. So for that, let me share my demos with you. So first, we will see the basic demo about the counter application, and then we will see the demo about the one API calling. So till now, let me ask you before going for the practical, let me ask you, anyone is having any question regarding any concept from over here? So we can talk about that. Let me go through one by one. So if you have any question, you can ask me here right now. So if anyone is having question understanding what and why the block is there, what are the block advantages, block architecture,
On
understand.
this, yeah, so I'm Robin here. So on this, the events, right?
Yeah,
Have to be the events only for the UI changes, or can it also event offline, online, that kind of events can it be also?
uh, that thing you can that thing you can directly implement inside the block for that.
Okay,
Those are not
okay,
the type of the events that you can have inside that. But yeah, you can directly implement those things inside the block.
okay, got it.
Yeah. Regarding any core concepts, stream, block, block delegate, Flutter block core concept, block provider, multi-block provider, block builder, block listener.
Sorry, just a question on that block delegate. So the main use of block delegate is just to have something like a debugging or a logger for the on transition, right? Something
Yeah,
for if you are going to release as a release app, then we can totally have the on delegate totally under debug build, and it can be commented out for totally a release build. Is that
yeah,
possible? Okay,
yeah. You can do that. You can just comment your code from over here. You can comment this thing from over here, so it will not give you the different transactions for that.
okay, got it. Mhm.
Yeah. But for the development purpose, you can easily sense that what are the different transactions. You can also implement the on error over here. On error override method is there. For that, you can also print the different stack trace and what are the kind of errors that you are having. In which block you are having that error, you can easily plot that also.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Uh, and the block builder, block listener. it's a syntax thing. So block consumer. Okay, so that's really good that whatever that I have told you about some of the basic things that you have understood well. So now let's switch to the practical thing that how these things are working. So let me. So this is what a simple application that we have whenever we are creating a new whenever we are creating the new Flutter application, and we have that counter application demo that we have. So it's a kind of the same thing that let me just share this to this desktop. So yeah, so I'm running it on the device right now. So let's understand the structure first, then we will see the running demo. So same thing, we understood that main method is there. My app is the one stateless widget from which I am returning the material app. My home is the counter page. So if you are not considering provider right now, my home is the counter page here. Inside the counter page, I have a one scaffold, one app bar is there. Forget about the block builder right now. I have the center text. I have a one particular value that that will be displayed to the user, and some floating action buttons are there in the column. So plus button is there, minus button is there. So the minus button is there, which is decrementing that count. Plus is incrementing that count, and one message icon button is there that we will see that how these things are working. So this is what the UI that we have. Uh, sorry, something. Yeah. So this is what the UI that we have with us. I have not rerun it, so you cannot have the display icon over here. But the plus and minus are there. Plus is incrementing this thing, and minus is decrementing. So for that, how you can handle this using the block. So first we have to use this particular package. That is what the block package is there. You can get the latest version from the pub.dev. And equitable, that in the programming structure we are using the equitable to with the combination of the block. So equitable is mainly used to compare the two objects, or you can say the two instance of the blocks are same or not. So for that we are using the equitable over here. So it's not the uh, major thing, but you can have a look in that one, and you can have the idea about that how the equitable are useful for the Flutter block. So just for consider the Flutter block right now. So let's say what's there in the block. So this is what a block class that is there. And first we have the different event. So for a simple thing, we have defined an enum for the counter event. So those three events are there: increment, decrement, and display. We are creating a one particular class, that is what the block class is there, which must extend the block, that is what the core class from the core library, and which consists of the two things, that is what the stream of event and the stream of states, that which it will output from over here. So type of the event that we have is the counter event. So this is what the type of the event, and the type of the state that which we are going to output from this particular block. So that is what the integer here. So this is the basic example. So that's why the integer directly data type is used over here. So as we see in the block, it will extend the main block class. It will have the two values, the event and the uh, state. Then you have to override the initial state method. So at the initial state, my value that is represented to the UI, that will be 0. And now we have to override the map event to state method, that consists that will take a one parameter, that is the type of the event. You can say the counter event is there. So we have defined the enum for the counter event, So counter event will be there, the object of the event which will be passed to this particular method whenever the new events are happening. And it is the async star function. So we can yield the different states from over here, and state is nothing. The state is whatever that we have defined over here. So here we have the state as the integer, so we will have the integer values. We can access the current state value by using the state parameter. You can have the state parameter that will represent the current state of for your application whenever the new events are coming to this particular state, this particular method. At that time you can access the current state using the state variable that is directly available. So if you see, the state is available and the type of the state is integer, so which is directly available when one event is emitted, and it is coming for this particular coming to this method for the processing. And the output of this method is the stream of integer, because the we have the state is in the integer form, so we can emit the stream of integers from this particular method. So based on the event, it will give the different kind of a states, and states are nothing, it is the data type integer. So different integer states will be outputted from this particular block based on the type of the event. So this is what map event to state. And let's finish this one first. So it has the switch statement. You can also have the if else statement over here. So because we are having the enums directly over here, so we can have the switch statement. We will pass the event as the object to compare with the different cases. And let's say we have the decrement or we have the increment state, increment event. So let's say first for the increment event, it will yield, it will pass the next state, that is what the state plus one. This state is the current state. So, and it is the type of the integer. So you can directly perform the plus operation on this one, and you can directly yield the value of the new state from this particular method. So state is the one thing that I need to highlight, that your current state you can directly access using the state, as I have already told you, and it is the type of having it as an integer. So that is the main thing that you have to understood, that state minus one and state plus one, we are directly perform the operation on the state, which is the type of the integer. So initial value, it is zero. Now when the increment event is there, let's assume that increment event is happening, and at that time current state is zero, so you will have the value equals to zero over here, and it will perform the zero plus one for the first increment event. Now you have the next again increment event is there, so you will have the value equals to one for the current state. You will perform the one plus one, and it will yield the value equals to two from this particular method. So it will yield the value equals to 2, and so it is a stream of integer, so it will yield the next state, that is what containing the value equals to 2, and this value will be represented to the UI using the block builder, so that we will see that how these things are working over there. But just understand first that this state is nothing, it has the type equals to integer, and we are directly performing the operation on the state. So state plus one will perform the for the increment event, and state minus one will perform for the decrement event. So let's say two time increments are performed. So now my state is having the value equals to two. And when next the decrement event is getting performed, so you will have the current state equals to two. You will have the this operation from this particular method, the business logic that we have implemented over here. So it will sense the now next event is type of the decrement event. So it will perform the operation minus one on the current state. It will have the new value equals to one, and it will yield, it will emit this new value to the UI from this particular method, and that UI will update the screen based on the new value. So that's how this block is getting implemented. It is the simple block. You have the different type of the event. So enum is declared for the different type of event. Counter block class is there, which extend the base block class, which contain the two things, the event and the type of the state. initial state that you have to declare. So initial state is 0, and based on the you have to override this map event to state, and inside that method, based on the different event, you can modify the state and you can yield the new state values from this particular method. So current this state value is the current state, whatever the current state is there. You can perform the different operation on there, increment and decrement, and you can emit the new values from this particular screen. So that's how this block is there and how it is working. So is there anyone having any question regarding this file? This is what the implementation of the block with the event. Anyone is having any question? Okay, so I think everyone has understood this thing. So let's say how you can access or this block inside the screen. So we have this particular counter page, which is representing this particular UI to the user, which is having the value that our state of the application is there, the integer type. These are the two buttons that we are having, plus and minus, which are performing, or you can say which are adding the different events to the block now, which are just adding the events to the block, and block is performing the business logic. It is giving the new state and it is updating the UI over here. So let's say from the main, we have implemented the block over here. That is what the counter block with this thing, initial state and map events to state. Now we have to pass this block to our screen. So from the main here, uh, wrap this particular counter page with the block provider, which consists the type of the block that it is passing to this particular screen. So counter block, that the type of the block that we want to provide to this counter page, and we have to create the instance of the counter block. So by using the context, it is creating the instance of the counter block by using this create parameter. So this syntax is there, which we have already discussed earlier. So wrap your widget or wrap your screen with the block provider. Mention this type of the block that you want to create the instance of the block, and create the instance of the block in this particular way. So you have to mention this block. So that's how the block builder will automatically sense that this type of a block is passed from the parent. If you are forgetting this thing, then block builder will not get sense the type of the block which it is accessing. So mention the type of the block over here. Now inside the counter page, how you can access this particular block. So inside the counter page, you can use the syntax, that is what the block provider of counter type of the block, and the context. I think it is the same as the provider of context that we have for the very basic thing. So you can use the concept of the block provider of context, but for that you have to specify the type of the block that you are accessing. So you can define the type of the block, that is what the counter block we are accessing from the parent. We are expecting from the parent to access it over here, and assign that instance to the local instance in this particular page. So this is what the local instance counter block of the counter block defined using this name, and we are we are accessing the block which is provided using the block provider to this particular page, and we are uh, assigning that instance to the local instance of this particular screen. That is what the counter block over here. So now you have provided block using the block provider to this particular screen. You have access that block using the block provider, and you have assigned that to counter block. So now to perform any operations to add the event to that particular block, we can use this particular counter block instance for that, and we will use that one. So this is how you can assign the provided block to the local instance. Now inside the screen, what is happening that we have the center, we have the center widget. Inside the center, we are representing the text, that is what the value of the integer on the screen. So for that, wrap this center widget using the block builder. So block builder will take the UI changes based on the different states, and block builder will consist of the two things: the block that it is sensing and the state of that particular block. So here we have the state as an integer data type, so you can directly have the integer as the state. And here it consists of the builder, which contain the context and the count. So here you can give this thing as any name. You can also name it as a state, and we can have the value as equals to state over here. So that is what the state that you will have, and this is what the syntax that I am following when I'm doing the programming, because count is a different thing for understanding, but the state is the main thing. If that is what give you the thing in the mind that no, state is the state in my what the screen is there. So this is the type of the state. This is the actual state that you can use over here. So state has the type equals to integer, so we does not have to do the if else conditions over here, but we can directly display this value inside the text because it is the type of the integer. So we can directly display the updated value by using this block builder. So that's how the block provider is providing the block, and we are accessing it to the local block. Block builder is wrapped for our body, which is having a particular state, and based on the state it will display the value over here. The state is the type equals to integer, so we can directly use that value over here. And let's see how we can add the different event. So we have the two floating action buttons over there. So plus and minus are there. So on the click on press method, we can add the different events. So we have the local instance, that is what the counter block local instance is there. So we can add the event by using this syntax counter block dot add, and add will ask you for the event to pass from to this particular method call. So we have the enums for the event, so we can directly pass the counter event dot increment. That is what the event that we have, uh, that now the block will check for it. So whenever user is clicking on this particular button on press, this event will get added inside the block. It is the type of the counter block. The event is the increment event. So it will go inside this particular block. It will go inside this method. It will check type of the event, that what kind of event it is having right now. It will perform the switch operation. It is checking that increment event is there. So based on the increment event, whatever processing is over here, it will perform that processing, and it will give you the new state. That is what the integer state to the UI. And from here, the block will emit using the yield. The new state will be get emitted on the screen, and on the screen, block builder will sense the UI changes. Block builder will see the state has been changed. So on the based on the state changes, it will update the particular text screen from over here. So that's how whole block thing is working. First of all, you have to create the different event. You have to mention the type of the state your application will be there. Then you have to implement the block. You have to pass on the initial state. You have to implement this map event to state. You have to override that. You have to give the business logic for the different events that your screen will have. On the different events, you have to pass on the different states from this particular block. And if when you complete this whole structure, the event, state, and block, then you can go to create this particular thing that you have to pass a block using the block provider, the type of the block that I am having. Then inside the counter page, access that particular instance and give it to the local instance, and implement the block builder, where you can, based on the state, you can represent the different UI. And where you can, whenever from where you are adding the different events, so those event you can implement on the different on press method or wherever you want to do. Usually some list getting stubs are calling when the user is coming to that screen. So you can add the event directly inside the init state method also. So that you can also do. So this is how the block structure, basic structure is there. So now let's see that how it is working over here. So now you have understood that the basic how the counter demo has been implemented. So is there any doubt about that? That how this thing is there inside anything, counter block or inside the block builder or provider or adding the event to the block? Is there any doubt regarding this thing? Anyone?
The
Hi,
state,
this is Nishit here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi.
If we destroy the current screen, the block will be reset, right?
Yeah, block will be reset.
Just like a view model we are using in Kotlin or Android Java particular.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So as you can see, my screen is represented over here. My block builder is has been displayed this particular thing, and let me just close this thing. So if you can see, my initial state from the block is value equals to 0. Uh, let me just So as you can see, my initial state from the block is equals to 0. So this is what the initial value that it is representing. And now if I click on the plus button, then what will happen? It will add the event to the block, and the block will do the processing, and it will increment the value by 1. And block builder will sense this particular thing, that the now new state is there, which is having the another value from the previous state. So it will perform that particular uh, changes, and it will give you the updated UI on the screen. Just wait a minute. Let me plug in. Yeah, so it will give you the updated value on the screen. So let's click on the plus. So that's how the whole thing is working. It has called the add event, block has performed that operation, and it is working in but perfect way. So that's how the block is working right now. It is adding the event, the block is performing its operations, and this is how it is working. So let's change a little bit. Let's, instead of incrementing it by 1, let's change it to increment it by 2. So it has performed the hot reload. Let's click on the plus. So now it is incrementing the value by 2 every time, and here it is decrementing the value by 2 every time. Right now, I don't think so that I have mentioned the different event for this third icon, but it is not having any changes because I have not implemented that in this particular screen, because it has a different type of state. So let's say reset stuff is there and we want to reset our value from that, so we can easily create that. Sorry to give you the display name, because I want to uh, highlight the name something. So let's say yield the next state equals to 0. So that will yield the new state from this particular screen. So that will reset the value equals to 0. So that's how it is working. And if you want to, I think I cannot, because we have defined the state in an integer way. So we cannot do that, but I will show you that in the API calling demo, that how you can use the block listener when you have to only display the some portions on the screen for that. So that's how the block is implemented for the simple counter demo. that how you can have the different events. You have the event here. It is a simple demo. So we have defined the event as the enums. State is the integer. We can directly define as the integer because we are performing the adding and minus operations on the value. So that's how the counter demo is working. So is there any doubt about that? So we can directly move to the API calling demo now. Okay, so that's good. Now let me start that demo. It is already there. So let me just first run that so you will get an idea that what it is doing. Then we will see the structure that what the thing is there. Yeah. So here I have a one particular screen, and this is what I am having in one of my application for the client application. So for that, before that going the actual implementation, I have created a one demo for that by integrating that with the JSON placeholder API, and where we are having the different posts, comments, users, and to-dos for that. So I am getting the different counts from the API for that. So that's how it is working. And let's see that what is the structure for that. So inside my main.dart, I have the my app. Inside the my app, I have the home screen. That is what the dashboard home screen is there. So directly let's move on to the dashboard home screen. And here inside the dashboard home screen, I have the four components. These are what the custom components are there, which are having their label, post, comments, to-dos, and users. And based on these particular labels, I am fetching the different counts from the that JSON placeholder API. So for that, let just give you this thing about that. So first, this UI is created. So that UI is created using this container. The grid view is there, which is having the different custom views. That is what the home grid menu item is there. So I have created these custom items and which are having this custom thing. And now I have to get, I have to fetch the different counts from the API. So for that, Tanisha, sir, could you get just move? Your voice is coming. Yeah, thank you. So I am having the different UI custom components are there, which are containing the different counts. We are fetching the different counts from the API. So this is what my custom item. You can say a simple widget is there, which is the stateless widget, which is having the label and icon over here, and which is having this third component. The label and icon will be passed from the parent whenever parent screen, and here we are having this screen is visible or not. I think it is visible right now.
Visible.
Yeah. So yeah, so this custom component is having the label and icon, and inside this custom component I am having this small thing which is displaying the counts from the API. So I am having the block builder for this small portion, not because I want to display some processing over here. I want to change the UI for over here. I only want to display some processing over here. So I have the block builder associated with this part only. So this is my whole component is there, inside which I have a one child that is representing this thing. So I have associated my block using the block builder over here. I have provided my block from the above screen. That is what from the dashboard. I will show you that how we are providing this. But my block builder is associated with this thing. So when my API is getting called, then the loader is getting display. When the value is there, at that time we are displaying the value on this particular screen. So that's how this thing is there. So let's see that what is there in the menu count block. That's let's me go through that block. So first, let me open everything. So first, I have the menu count page, which is displaying this value. So it is only for displaying this value. So it is a stateless widget, which is containing the item count. So it's a simple stateless widget. There is nothing inside this. I am not accessing any block over here. It is just for representing the value over here. Uh, Menu count event is there. So before that, we have created a single enum class for that for the different event. But now for the actual implementation, you have to create a abstract class. Let's say give it a name menu count event, which extend the equatable. The equatable are for comparing the different object of this particular class, or you can say the whatever the class which is extending this particular base class, we can compare those instance of the different class using the equatable. So for that, those things are there. You can read more about that equatable later. So you have to create an abstract class, which is the menu count event, and you can have the different class. So for different another event class. So for this, I have one class that is what the get menu count, which extends the menu count event. So and it is not having anything as a parameter here because we are not passing any parameter, but you can always pass the parameter to this particular object, which you can later access inside the maps event to state method. So that you can also pass. So this is what the event class. For the state, again, you can create the abstract class. That is what the menu count state, which is the abstract class. My naming conventions are related to the value that I am representing. So I am representing the menu count. So I have give the naming in that way, menu count event, and now the menu count state are there. So different states will be there. So define one abstract class first, then define the different states. So whatever the initial state will be there, which extends the main base state class. Then the loading is there. So if you are processing something at that time, you want to display the loader. So you can say your current state is the menu count loading. Then whenever you are getting some data from the API, so at that time you can say you are from the block, you can now emit the state, that is what the menu count success. And when you are getting some data from the API, at that time you have to pass some values to the UI. So you can have the different parameters, or you can have the different uh, variables over here. That is what the final integer count, because my state class success state class will contain the count, the actual count that I want to represent. So that you can declare it over here, declare one constructor, and you can override the prompts to access the count variable at some places. So this is what the syntax if you want to pass the different variables inside the state. And same syntax you can also use if you want to pass some values when you are performing some events. So at that time you can also have the different parameter inside here, and same thing you can use that inside the map event to state. So this is what the menu count success, which is when we are emitting that from the block, it will take the count from the API to the UI. So you can access this count value from the state. Now inside the block, what I'm having, it is little bit uh, complex thing is there, but you will get an idea that what thing is there. So inside the menu count block, I have a one parameter that is what the string label. And whenever I'm creating an instance of this menu count block, I have to pass this particular label. So whenever I'm creating a block instance using the block provider, I will pass on one particular label, that is what the string that it is representing over here. and that it will create the instance of this menu count block using this particular label. Now, initial state will be the menu count initial. This menu count initial is nothing. It is defined it over here in the menu count state. As you can see inside the menu count block, we are having the two things, event and the state. So event is nothing. It is a menu count event, and state is nothing. It is the menu count state. And whenever you are giving, if you have defined this menu count state over here, then it will use it over here. You have to stream the same instance of, or you can say you can have to same subclasses of this particular class, that you have to stream it from the map event to state. So define the event over here, define the state over here, and it will override you this particular two methods, which will emit the stream of menu count state from this particular map event to state method. So initial state is the menu count initial, map event to state, which take the parameter equals to menu count event, uh, and on the basis of the event, what kind of an event is there. So as you can see, we have defined a one event, that is what the menu count, get menu count named event is there. So inside the block you can check if event is get menu count. So what thing you have to perform? So first it will yield the menu count loading. So first it will give the state equals to menu count loading. So from here it will start processing. So first it will yield this particular state. It is the stream of states. So it is not like that it has yield this particular state, so it will now stop processing from this one. No, it has yield, it has emit this particular state. So based on this particular state, you can change the UI on the screen. So it is menu count loading. So you can start displaying the loaders on this particular screen. You can display the loaders on this particular scene. So that way you can use this the different state. So that's why I have defined the different state. My initial state will be the menu count event. Uh, Another, when I'm processing some API values, at that time I can display this, I can yield this menu count loading state from there. And when I'm getting that value from the API, at that time I will yield my success state with the count that I'm getting from the API. So during the processing, to represent that to the user, yield menu count loading is there. So when this state is there, it will start displaying the loaders on the screen. Now it will perform the basic API operations using the HTTP package. So I have main URL, endpoint is there. Endpoint is based on the label that we have post, comments, to-dos, and users. So that labels will be appended to this particular API. And on the basis of the response, I have passed the item count. That is what JSON response dot length. That is what the whole response length I have get it from the response, and I have passed that value using the menu count success state. So this is whole API call is there using the HTTP. If my API is getting successful response, that is what 200 response is there. So I'm getting the list. I'm taking the list length from that. I'm associating that with the item count variable, and now I am yielding the state. That is what the menu count success. So now, until then, when the event was there, the initial state was there. When the event is get fired, event is get menu count. My state was menu count loading, so it will start displaying the loader over there. And when my API gets the successful response, I will yield the new state. That is what the menu count success. And menu count success state requires the one parameter, that is what the count. So from the block, I will pass the count value. That is what the item count length of the list that I'm getting. So I will pass the menu count value to that particular UI from this particular block. And if I'm not getting that particular response, I'm not getting the successful response. So, sorry, just light has just gone. Just give me 2 minutes. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. Just power cut is there in my area, so I just forgot. Yeah. So if we are not getting the response code equals to 200 at that time, I want to yield the different state. That is what the menu count failed state is there. So menu count failed state will be the same state that we have defined over here, which is not containing any value. But based on that state, you can change, you can display the different things on the UI. So this is what the whole block structure is there, which is having the different uh, uh, implementation about the different events that we are firing or we are giving to this block, and it is doing the business processing, and it is giving the different state based on the processing that it has done. So based on the new state, we will change the UI. So till now you have understand these things, the menu count, block, and events and state. Is there any question about that? Okay. So now let's see that where this block is getting accessed. So as you can see, we have see the concepts where we can provide a block by using two-way. Let me check that what is getting displayed on the screen. So you are still seeing this particular screen. Wait a minute, something is wrong with this.
Uh, Hello.
Yeah,
Actually, your screen is jammed.
yeah. Actually, it is on the different windows, different desktops. So I'm just configuring that.
Yeah.
The power cut is there. Let me just stop sharing and let me just start again. Now it is visible, right? I'm sharing the whole entire screen.
Yes.
Yeah. So as you can see that we have the concept that we can create the block directly using the block provider, where use this concept where we can use a create and we can create the new instance, and that instance we can access using the block provider dot off method. But we can also provide the local instance value. So at some time used to provide the existing block value to the new portion of the subtree. So at that time we can use the local value of the block and we can provide that block using the block provider dot value. So that concept is there, which is used over here. So when user coming to the dashboard, inside the dashboard screen, I have created this different instance of the menu count block. So as we have seen inside the menu count block, we are having one parameter, that is what the label that we have to pass when we are creating the instance of the menu count block. So here inside the dashboard home, I have created the different instance about regarding the different endpoints that we are having: post, comments, to dos, and users. Those labels are passed to this particular menu count block. And as soon as these instances are created, I am adding the event in that particular block. So here dot dot method is there, which is used directly. You can pass on the pass on the event to this particular block. So you can you can also use the post block to assign the different events. Let's say inside the init state, we want to add the event. So you can also add the event from over here. So that way it will also work, that you can remove this from over here. So it will only create the instance, but when at the init state time, you can add this particular event inside the menu count block. So at that time, it will add the event and it will start processing those things. So whenever the dashboard home is getting displayed, so at that time inside this, I am creating the instance and I am adding the event itself. So it will start processing the data and how these local blocks, these are the local blocks that we have, how these local blocks are passed to the different component. So inside the UI, I have the different I have the different custom components. So these are what the grid view that I have. I have the different custom components. And here I am passing the local block value by using the block provider dot value pattern. So this is how the values are getting passed. So as you can see, uh, I have the custom component and I am passing my local block values to this particular custom component using the block provider dot value, and the value that I have to pass, it is the post block. So this post block value is passed to this particular component, and inside this component, the same way, I'm just explaining the one component, but the same way the different local blocks are associated with the four views. So post block is there, then the comment block is there, then the to-dos block is there, and the users block is there, which is associated with the four components. So here, let's see what is there, how you can, the blocks are provided, but how you can access those blocks, how you can access to them by using the block builder. So let's go inside the home grid menu item. Inside the home grid menu item, it says stateless widget. It is not having any state. It is only having the label and icon, which is passed from the dashboard home. So inside this, in the one portion, that is what this small portion is having, uh, having declared by using the block builder. So this child component, which is at this particular location, it is implemented using the block builder. So as you can see, block builder consists of nothing. It contains the block and state. So block is our menu count block and the state is our abstract class state. So that is what menu count state is that. These are what the different subclasses that which are extending our abstract class. So we can have this menu count state over there inside in the block builder. So it will have the different types of state. You can have the any one of this particular state, any one from these subclasses, you can have it over here inside the block builder. So that's why you have to use a abstract class over here, menu count block, and the menu abstract class state menu count state is there, which contains the builder, which consists of the context and the state. So based on the state, you can represent the UI over here. So here, if state is menu count fail, so let's say I am failed to get the values from the API. So inside the menu count fail, I am not passing any value. So I assume that I have to display the 0 over there. So inside the menu, if my state is menu count fail, then I will return the menu count page with the value equals to 0. So menu count page is a simple UI, single UI that I am having menu count page with the stateless widget. It is just representing the value that I am passing it to it. So if my API is failing to get the value, then I will pass on the 0 value. And if I am getting the value, if I am having the state equals to menu count success, at that time what will happen? My API is getting values from the that endpoint. So if my state is menu count success, so I can access the count variable. I can access the count property for of this particular class. So inside this particular, if my state is menu count success, so you can access that variable count using the state.count syntax. So anything, any value that you are giving over here, let's say I am having some another values from over here, so let's say size. So that I have to pass on to this particular constructor, and I can access this value over here using the state dot size, because my type of state is right now menu count success. But let's say if you have the menu count failed, so you cannot access that kind of parameters over here, size or count here, because your state is menu count field where you have not defined any parameters to get access. So you cannot access those parameters over here. So that's what the concept, that you have to access the values that are you have defined in the different state. You can access only those values. You cannot access the different values. So this is what the block builder. If my state is menu count fail, I will display the menu count page with the 0 value. If my menu count success is there, I will display the actual count value inside over here. And if it is not the case, if my this widget is not in any of the state, then what I will display, if I will display the circular progress indicator over here simply. So you can also implement the same thing if I directly put the return statement over here, because it is the default return. So until and unless whatever the state, if it is in the initial state, if it is in the loading state, which we have not defined in the if else loop over here. So if anything is not defined over here, it will return this particular circular progress indicator. So you can your state is menu count load this stuff, but it will ask you for the default return. Block builder will ask you for the default return, because everything we have written from the return statement. So I usually return the size box because it is a very light widget. Instead of passing the container, you can instead of returning the container, you can return the size box, because it is the lightweight compared to the container. So it will hide that warning that you have to pass the default return statement. So now when the menu count loading state is there, at that time it will display the uh, circular progress indicator, and in the default it will display the size box. So that's how you can implement the block builder. And if you want to display some dialogue kind of a stuff, just let me ask you, you have not understood about the block builder and provider, that how the provider is providing the different blocks, how the events are getting added, how this block builder is working here to change the UI of this particular screen. Now you are understanding, right? If anyone has any questions, they can ask me right now. Okay, so I think we are good. So now let's yield the different state display. I will just show you that how you can use the block listener to display the snake bar. So for that, we have to define a key, because here we are in this particular screen. So I cannot display the scaffold. I cannot use the scaffold over here. We cannot use the scaffold of this one also. Yeah. So it's a tricky thing because I have used the block builder inside this small component, because if it is in the whole screen, then we can directly use the listener to display the snake bar and something else. But here it is not getting display. But about the concept, sorry that I cannot represent that practically over here. But you can always use this thing. Let me show you that how you can implement that thing. You can use the listener wrapping your block builder. Then you can implement over here. Listener method is that it is taking the same context and a state, and based on the state, if your state is something like menu count success is there, then you can print or you can display some dialogue, and So let's again rerun this thing. Let me rerun it. Yeah. So as you can see, same. Uh, I have not integrated the scaffold over here, but you can see that how this block listener is sensing the state change, and it is also printing out the statement over here. So same way you can use the block builder and wrap that block builder using the block listener, because here the concept is for the fail statement I am uh, representing the data with the 0, but it might be possible that for the fail state you have to represent some scaffold or some dialog that you failed to get the data from the server, try again or some kind of stuff is there. So that thing you can easily integrated this for the listener. You can display the scaffold to the you can display the snack bar to the user using the block listener, using the scaffold key or scaffold directly. And for the block builder, for the same state, you can display the different UI changes, that you can display the try again kind of a flat button on the screen, and on clicking on that you can again add that event to the block. So those stuffs you can do. So this is how the block listener is sensing the state change. And for the menu count success for this fourth field, I am getting these values on the printed over here in the console. So it is the 4 API getting called, 4 API getting success response. So it is different things are there for the print. So that's how the block builder and block listeners are there. And that's how you can provide the instance of the block using the block provider. This is what the local instance are created and which are added with a different event. There are two ways. You can directly add the event whenever you are creating the instance of that block, or you can also create the instance first, then on the init state, if you have the stateful widget, then on the init state you can add the event later. And you can dispose, because we have created the local instance, we have provided that with the block provider dot value pattern. So it is not directly block provider dot create, it is from the block provider dot value. So we have to take care of disposing these local instances. So if they are not null, we can close these instances using this syntax on the dispose method, overrided dispose method. So that's how the block is there for your Flutter application. So the counter demo was the basic demo, and this API demo, which is containing the different state defining and different event defining over here. So for every screen, for what, let's say you have one particular screen and which is containing, let's say, initial time you have to display something. When you have actual data from the backend, you have to display something. If error is there, you have to display something. So those states you have to identify what are the events are there. Let's say I'm clicking on this plus, I'm clicking on something on over here, I'm refreshing my data. So those are the different user interactions, those are considered as the events. So first of all, identify the events, then identify the different states. Based on that, you have to create the different classes. First abstract class is there, name it properly related to your block, that whatever related to your screen. So naming conventions are very you have to make sure that you are using it properly, and give the different naming convention, define the events, then define the different state, then start implementing the block. So based on the different block, different event, you have to perform something. You have to different yield the different state from this particular block. Based on the different response from the API, you have to yield the different state. And when you complete with the block, then you can directly jump into your screen, where you can uh, display the different UI changes based on the value that your state is having right now. So this is where you can implement the block builder, or at what point, because here at the small portion I require the UI change. So here I have used the block builder. Otherwise I can also use the block builder on this place also, for this component or for this whole screen also, but it is not my case, so I have used it over here. And this is how you can use the block builder associated with the block and state, and you can, based on the state, you can return the different widgets that will be get represented to the user. So that's how the whole thing of the block, that how it is displaying or how it is working in our application. And yeah, so that's what we have practically see, the how blocks are working. And these are the useful links that I am sharing: the official block documentation, the GitHub package, then the documentation again. Then I have one link for the Discord server, where this you can join to know about the Flutter block, where the maintainer Philang was handling that server, and you can post your question. You can read the different articles from that also. Use the Twitter handle to post your question regarding block, and that is the maintainer of that library, which is really very active to give you the response for your queries. You can also tag the Flutter Vadodara for that. So there are community members which will help you out for resolve your queries or to clear your concepts also. And for the presentation, for the images and the different stuff, I have used the reference on the official documentations that are there for the block library. So thank you, Flutter Vadodara, for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge to the community about the block, the pattern that we are handling, using for the state management for our Flutter application. So thank you very much. Yeah. Hello.
Yes. So thank you, Burik Bhai. It was such a good session. We all enjoyed very much, and we all have something to take from it and learn. So I think now we are open for doubts and networking. If anyone has any doubts or something, then they can go ahead and ask it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like regarding the session or the topic, or except that, even like any doubt regarding some Flutter or something, then we are open to discussion. And also we'll be posting this video. We have recorded this whole session and meetup, and we'll be posting it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So if anyone has missed anything or have any doubts, then they can go back to it while watching the video on the YouTube, and they can catch up.
Yeah. And yeah, you can also connect with me through this channel. So if anyone has any doubt, then I can also solve that. If you have any questions, you can ask me right now.
And also, if you don't wanna ask it right now, then you can later message him or mail him, so that he'll be able to connect with you and he'll solve your doubts.
Yeah. And one more thing, that if you want to easily understood this architecture, you have to do this by the demo. First start creating a small demo, and then you will get the idea that how this block is working, and it is really very helpful for the maintaining the states. Somewhere you will get some blockage, but that will be solved by the community. There is no doubt in that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I think we are good.
Yeah, I hope that there are no doubts right now, and I guess we will end this meetup here only. Once again, thanks everyone. Thanks Purvik Bhai for giving this wonderful session, and thanks everyone to all the attendees for being here and being patient and to attend this meetup. Yeah, that's all. So thanks again, everyone.
And keep following our social media handles for more updates and more sessions like this.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.